Hey guys, Kyle here, Middleton's. Well, it's time. It's time to swap the long block in the 240, in the drift car. So, it's time. There it is right there. So, we're going to start with tearing things apart. I'll kind of go over what's in the car and what we're doing. We've got our JDM RB25 long block strip down here. I do still want to run a little detergent and water through the coolant system. I took a wire brush to all that, like a lot of them that you'll get from Japan. It had quite a bit of corrosion in there, probably a little too much tap water in the coolant, not enough coolant in the coolant, antifreeze. And then what we're replacing is the exact same thing. It's an RB25 with 26 covers on it. It's a 3071R turbo, top mount, Mushimoto radiator. It's a Blitz front mount kit for an SR20 and an S13, but I modified it to make it work for an RB25. And I've got one of the Freddies, the fake Greddy intake manifolds on there, a Q45 throttle body, little air oil cake chen there. I did the split fire coil packs. It's still all stock internals. The problem with this one right now, number 5, lost compression. It's down under 50 the last time I checked, or it was at 50 last time I checked. And they should all be at 150. A good healthy motor. That's what I'm hoping will come up when I put the new one in. When they sold it to me, they said it was good. We'll see what happens. But the one's coming out of here, this one, I'm going to rebuild it with some good stuffs in it, and we'll go for more power. Right now, it's at 393 to the wheels, at 16 pounds boost. I'm running a 300ZX computer, and I think it was even out of an automatic transmission. It doesn't really matter, but I went through RS Entropy, and Martin Struck at Injuku Racing tuned it on a dyno over in Bremerton. Been very, very happy with it, so I'm at this point just swapping the long block out, going back for the same thing to get back on the track, and then from there, the block that's coming out of here is going to get some good stuff, and the goal eventually is to have a 600 plus at the wheels. So I'll get the car up in the air here, and then we'll go over the bottom of the car real quick. All right, we got the car up in the air now, and we'll go over some of the bottom of the car here. I believe that's the Mushimoto oil cooler I put on there, oil filter relocate kit. I believe these are Godspeed lower control arm kits there. I did do the GK Tech roll center correction kit. I can't really see it too well in there. Yeah, a little bit there. There it is. It's the Sickie.com sway bar there. It's for the RB. It gives you a little more clearance right through here. The stock one. This is right when I had the stock sway bar on here. It was rolling on the engine bay. I did the CX Racing motor mounts for the S13 with the RB25. They did break. I think they were from before CX Racing had kind of gotten their quality a little better, because I did go with their exhaust manifold, and it is really thick and good quality welds. But I did have their engine mounts here did break on me once, and I had to re-weld them myself. But part of that was driver error. I went off the track and bottomed out and popped my oil pan there, as you can tell, on the track. So this is, one of those learning things. I did get you want to get the spacers in your steering rack. Without them, I've had steering lock where it locked all the way over, and I had to, I spun out because I had to forcefully pull the wheel back. These are the what we'll call it. These are S14 tie rod ends and tie rods there. You need those with the GK Tech roll center correction kit, which all this together kind of makes it like a Wisefab kit, but it gives you that good angle, good camber, good for drifting. Not great on tire life if you're going to drive this car every day, but anyway, then I did the whole the CX Racing downpipe also came with that exhaust manifold there. And then I've already drained through the fluids. Test pipe, I don't remember what that one is. This was originally an HKS. Well, that's exactly, yeah, so that's what it was. It was an HKS catback system that I cut everything out of and made it straight piped. And it dumps just straight at the ground right there. It's actually still fairly quiet for being straight piped. Rear sway bar is a Godspeed one. I believe the front coilovers are K-Sports that I robbed off one of my parts cars. And then the rears, I think, are still the Godspeeds. The front Godspeeds blew on me quite a while ago. They blew out, and that's why the K-Sports ended up on the front. But all four of them are need replacement, so that's where I'm a lot. One piece aluminum drive shaft. I bought that used. It was for an SR20 in this car, and all I had to do was I contacted Shaft Masters in Texas, and you buy the, I can't turn it with it, but the from the U-joint forward here that goes in is different for the RB25, and you just get one of those and swap that over, and it doesn't matter, it's the same drive shaft. So that's been working for me for now. So time to get to tearing it apart. All right, so I've started to get some things pulled apart here. Got some of the piping, the radiator out. All I can say is as you go along, just kind of pick away at it, make sure you label everything. No matter how many times you've taken this thing apart and back together, always label it, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like if you get hurt or something, can't get back to it for a while, or you have to sell the car, give it to somebody else, whatever. It's always a good idea to label things, because as I get older, my memory's starting to slip, so I try to label everything as I take it apart. But I'm getting ready to take the, I got one of the fuel lines off. I'm going to take the other one off. Start taking the vacuum lines away from it, and I'll start working on the turbo. And I've just, like I said, just been working this is the harness that goes over to the map sensor, air intake, all that. I've got a lot of this piping out. I've still got this piping over here to go. And I'll just keep picking away at it, and I'll get the turbo off there before I remove the motor. I'm also going to take the exhaust manifold off. It's fairly easy to get to and easier to get it off before I pull the motor out. The intake side, though, I will leave all that on. I'll take it apart back to the throttle body, and then just take the vacuum lines off back there and pull the motor with the intake manifold on it. And I'll show you guys what I undo on the bottom before I pull that out. But right now I'm just working my way back and labeling everything and just picking away at it. Label everything and stay as organized as you can. That's all I can say. All right, so we got most of our wiring pulled back. I still got to pull the alternator out. I recommend getting that out of the way before you pull the motor. Gives you a little more room. I've got all the piping off, everything labeled, fuel lines disconnected, vacuum lines disconnected. I still have to pull off the ground. On these RBs, you want to put a lot of grounds on there because they, Nissans add extra grounds right to the block. And I've got one over there to take out still, a ground off that one. I'm going to go ahead and leave I've got the down pipe off and the waste pipe, or waste gate off of there, and dump pipe. I'm going to leave the turbo and the exhaust manifold on for now to see if I can pull it out that way. So next step is I'm going to loosen all the bolts on the bell housing, get the cherry picker, the engine hoist hooked up, and get ready to pull this out of here. So I'll go back underneath the car here in a little bit, and I've also got some of the wiring underneath on this side here. I've got to get disconnected after I get the alternator out of there, and then I'll go to the bell housing. So continue to pick away. So the engine is up on the hoist and loose. Got everything out of there. Got rid of the alternator. There was a ground down there hooked up to the motor mount on that side behind where the alternator is. I took pieces of the motor mounts out on both sides to give myself more room. And I have all of the bolts around the bell housing to the transmission there. Out, and you can barely see it because the flash isn't on, but it has separated from the transmission. So now we're gonna go ahead and pull it back a little bit more and loose of the car. Oh yeah, that's another thing I wanted to show you guys. Underneath here, what I did is when it was still attached to the transmission and the engine was still attached to the car, I took a bunch of straps and some straps back and forth between the frame rails and, as you see, and the subframe to cradle the transmission when it separates. You can see it's separated there, and the one back here is holding a lot of it, and this way I was able to leave the drive shaft still in the transmission and didn't have to drain the transmission fluid. So now we're going to pull the engine out and see if we did it right or not. Done it a few times, so I want to mess it up once or twice. And that is one removed RB. Time to swap everything from there over to there. It is. Wait, and we'll put it back together. Thanks, guys. Stay tuned for the reassembly.